I think it's disbelief, really, incredible shock, and I think some of that shock is turning to anger as to how this could have happened, and I think people are very worried and concerned in general. It's simply something that we just don't experience in Japan ever. So it's shocking because it's the former Prime Minister who's been shot, but it's also shocking because it's a gun-related incident.
Well, in your many years of living there, could you have ever imagined something like this could happen? I mean, gun violence and political violence is really quite rare in Japan.
Very unlikely to have ever seen anything. I think last year in 2021, there were 10 gun-related incidents resulting in 1 fatality and 4 injuries. So that shows you just how shocking this particular incident is. And I guess it comes from a place where politicians and Japanese people in general are very free to walk, and they certainly don't fear reprisal by gun. That's for sure. So it's a very shocking day for Japan.
And Melanie, what are gun laws like there? Owning a gun, let alone using it, is not something the average Japanese person has experienced.
No, I mean, we looked up the gun ownership. Obviously, the laws are very strict, and we all know that. You just simply don't hear about it, and Japanese look on in horror at the situations that happen in the United States. And I think they're so sad for the United States that has become the norm. But apparently, per 100 people in Japan, there are only 0.25 guns owned. And in the United States, per 100 people, that's 120 guns. So that in itself shows you exactly how remarkable and unusual it is for this type of an incident to take place.
What will you remember most about Shinzo Abe and the leader that he was?
I guess having witnessed a lot of the incredible shifts, or the policy changes that he took, I guess I'll remember him for being very forthright, strategic, a big thinker, a quiet thinker as well. Personally, he was very supportive, very kind, always caring, I think, to make sure that people's, that you could have a conversation with him if you were there. But I guess, as has been commented by so many Australians today, and particularly our former Prime Ministers who have had such a close relationship with the former Prime Minister Abe, that he was a great friend of Australia. That's what I will remember.
And I understand you've met Shinzo Abe on a number of occasions. What were those meetings like?
Oh, as I say, he was very warm, very open, very happy to hear about, what you were doing in Japan, and very kind. I've also met Mrs. Abe on occasion too, and, my heart goes out to her. A friend of mine wrote to me today and said that she saw Mr. and Mrs. Abe walking their dog the other day in their neighbourhood, and I just I can't imagine, the security and the safeness that they feel, and how that has impacted on her and his family.
How popular was Shinzo Abe? Was he mostly liked by the Japanese public during his time in office?
He's very popular overseas, and the tributes that have been flowing through from a number of countries, of course, evidence that. He was extremely popular in Japan at various times. He's highly regarded. I think the shock that was recognised or acknowledged today is a sign of that incredible sort of respect that Japanese people have for him. And so, yeah, I think it's quite a dark day for Japan in many ways, because somebody so incredibly influential. And politics aside, even the Japanese Communist Party member was on the TV just now saying that he didn't necessarily agree with Mr. Abe, but that he respected him. And I think that's the sign and the indication of the respect that a lot of people have for the former Prime Minister.
And as you say, he remained a very influential figure, even in the ruling Liberal Democratic Party. To what extent did he remain in the public eye since stepping down as Prime Minister?
Oh, he's a clear power broker. He's the head of one of the leading factions. He's extremely influential, as I said. Not a lot happens in Japan without Mr Abe's, engagement and understanding, I think. So I think the party and will, be looking at how they move forward in what it will be a true post-Abe period of time. The shift today has been from people just absolutely shocked and upset to a sense of resolve. And the campaigning has been suspended today, but a lot of politicians have said that they will be back out there, speaking to to people in their electorate, and trying to repay what Prime Minister Abe did for them in particular. So I guess tomorrow will be a very different day than what it was today, which was just a sign of shock, and then mourning will continue, of course.
How do you think you and the community in which you live will be remembering Shinzo Abe in the coming days and weeks?
Yeah, I mean, even my ex-husband, who hasn't always agreed with Prime Minister Abe's policies, he wrote to me and said how terribly sad a day it was and how he felt for the family. So I think it'll be quite personal reflections mostly. Of course, the election is on Sunday, so we'll see what the response has been. But I think people are just so terribly sad for the family. Mrs Abe visited the hospital, and the footage of her bowing very deeply to the medical director as she arrived was just so moving, I think. And the news said just before that she will be travelling back to Tokyo with his body, and that it'll take 7 hours to get back from Nara. So I guess the average Japanese person will just be thinking of her and of his family, and sending their condolences.
Incredible sadness. Melanie Brock, thanks so much.
Thank you, Yvonne.